Good day or good evening wherever you are in the world. I'm Dr. Adesoye Oluwatosin, called Dr. T, and today I want to answer a question that I get frequently asked. And the question is, why do some people with sickle cell trait have sickle cell crisis? When they don't have sickle cell disease, why do they have sickle cell crisis? Some of them. Okay. Yes, what is sickle cell trait? Let's start with that. Sickle cell trait is the genotype AS. When you have the genotype AS, when you inherit the hemoglobin gene A from one of your parents and hemoglobin gene S from the other parents, giving you the genotype AS. The sickle cell trait is not a disease state. Most people who have sickle cell traits, most people with the genotype AS, do not have symptoms. They are asymptomatic. Yes, it is. We only implore people to know this because it is important for them to know that they can donate their S gene to their child. And if they have a child with an incompatible partner, a partner with an incompatible genotype, they can have a child with sickle cell disease. But when it comes to symptoms, most times they are asymptomatic, they are just fine. But on rare occasions, people with sickle cell traits come up with some symptoms. Symptoms like muscle breakdown. We call it rhabdomyolysis. Yeah. There have been few cases recorded of people with sickle cell traits having rhabdomyolysis due to extreme exercise. There have been I have seen cases of people with sickle cell traits having sickle cell crisis. And there has been a type of renal cancer that is associated with sickle cell trait. But still, it has not been declared a disease state just because it is very rare. Those conditions are very rare. And most of the time, people with sickle cell traits are just fine. Yes, this is why people with sickle cell traits can have sickle cell crisis sometimes. When you have sickle cell trait, it means you have about 60% of hemoglobin A, and about 40% of hemoglobin S. So, 40% is significant enough. If you are in extreme condition, we say sickle cell crisis have triggers. Anything that can cause acidosis or decrease the oxygen saturation level can cause sickle cell, can aggravate or bring out sickle cell crisis or precipitate sickle cell crisis. So when people with the AS genotype are exposed to extreme conditions, when they are in area of high altitudes, when your area of high altitudes have decreased oxygen saturation, and when this happens, the 40% hemoglobin S begins to sickle, and it can also cause, as much as it is just 40%, it can also cause a crisis. When there is an extreme cold, it is very cold, some of them do have crisis because cold will cause vasoconstriction and it will aid sickling of red blood cells. So the 40% is sometimes significant enough to cause a crisis when you are in extreme conditions. So if you know that you do have crisis, you have sickle cell trait and you do have crisis, you need to know the triggers of sickle cell crisis, and you should also avoid them, just like people with sickle cell disease, and also take a lot of water. Another good reason that causes people with sickle cell trait to have crisis in this part of the world is this. Okay, I am Nigerian, I stay in Nigeria, and 95% of the time here, genotypes are determined with the use of cellulose acetate hemoglobin electrophoresis. Cellulose acetate hemoglobin electrophoresis cannot diagnose thalassemia. Cellulose acetate hemoglobin electrophoresis cannot separate or differentiate some types of sickle cell disease. First, it cannot differentiate sickle cell and hemoglobin SS from sickle beta 0 thalassemia. Both will show as sickle cell anemia. It cannot differentiate sickle beta plus thalassemia from sickle cell traits. Both will show as hemoglobin Hbas. So anybody who indeed has sickle beta plus thalassemia and is diagnosed as hemoglobin Hbas, as having sickle cell traits, that person will have more sickle cell crisis, obviously, because the person has sickle cell disease and not sickle cell traits. Sickle beta plus thalassemia is a type of sickle cell disease, and in that you have over 60% hemoglobin Hbas. So definitely the person will have crisis while thinking that he or she just has sickle cell traits. So if you are someone with sickle cell traits and you do have crisis often, you need to do advanced tests, advanced genotype determination tests, so that you know that you have sickle cell disease instead of thinking you have sickle cell traits when you indeed have sickle cell disease. Yeah, thank you. That's all for today.